As a firefighter from Canada, currently on the front lines of the wildfire in California, to be honest, I have never felt this exhausted. The work intensity here is unlike any task I have faced before. Therefore, that day I truly experienced the feeling of being close to death. But if that were all, I wouldn't be here sharing my story with you, because at the moment I was about to leave this world, I met him, Lord Jesus. And you know what? In that terrifying moment, it was revealed to me that the fire in California hasn't stopped yet. Still hasn't stopped, you guys. A stronger wind and a more intense fire are coming soon. I hope you all are ready, and if my colleagues are hearing these words, please be ready as well. In addition, I ask you one thing. Please pray. Pray that I have the strength to complete the mission. Pray for the people of California who are suffering through this tragedy, and pray that this fire will be extinguished soon. I believe that our prayers have a power greater than even the strongest currents. But before I begin, let me explain why, as a Canadian, I am here at the heart of this wildfire, carrying out firefighting duties. First, my name is Grizzly. I'm 43 years old. Actually, that's just a nickname, the name people have called me for 20 years as a firefighter. And if you'll allow me, I can't disclose my real name because I'm not permitted to. I was born in a small town in Alberta, located in Western Canada. A peaceful place where everyone is very friendly. My life is like an endless cycle. Every day, I throw myself into work, like saving people and battling fires, doing things that others call heroic in their eyes. On that day, January 12th, 2025, I received an important notification from my superior. A special assignment in California, a place I had never set foot in before. They said that wildfires were raging in this area, destroying hundreds of homes and endangering the lives of thousands of people. I'm not someone who hesitates when taking on a task, but this time there's a feeling deep inside me. I look at my wife and children, the ones who always worry whenever I leave, and this time is no exception. My wife looked at me with worried eyes, as if she was hoping I would change my mind. "I don't want you to go," she said, her voice choked. "Are you looking for something that I just can't understand?" The words she spoke made me stop for a moment, but then I looked into the eyes of my two small children, the ones I love more than anything else in the world. It's hard for them to see me go, but I know I can't abandon this mission. If I don't go, who will help those people in danger? I sighed, comforted my wife, and said, "I have to go. You understand. I will be back soon." That feeling of anxiety clung to me throughout the journey, but I know, as a firefighter, I have done a lot of things, and this is one of the most important missions of my life. I always feel that I'm doing the right thing, although in some way my heart is also filled with sorrow. But I can't stop. The fires in California are engulfing everything, and I have to help put them out. The flight to the States became long and exhausting. With each passing hour, I feel the tension in my body more and more. My fire crew and I sat in silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts, preparing for a brutal mission. In the airplane cabin, the atmosphere was filled with tension, but also a hint of optimism, as if we were stepping into a battle we knew would require immense strength to win. The meeting on fire suppression strategy took place as soon as we set foot at the airport. Each team leader reported on the situation and analyzed possible approaches. But what we were most concerned about at that moment was the information about the bad weather. The strong wind could cause the fire to spread much faster than we could put it out. Everyone knew that just one small mistake could make everything uncontrollable. My teammates around me talked about similar situations they had experienced. Some people seemed confident, while others couldn't hide their anxiety. Some even cracked jokes in an effort to lighten the mood, but I knew they were all very worried as well. Firefighters like us always face an internal conflict. The sense of responsibility collides with the fear of the uncontrollable. I sat silently, my eyes staring ahead, listening to everyone talking but not really participating. There was a strange feeling growing inside me, like something was pulling me forward, leading me towards something greater than just our usual firefighting tasks. It wasn't just a feeling of fear or anxiety, but rather a sense of readiness for something that lay ahead. That feeling kept following me, making it impossible to shake off my thoughts about what awaited me there, and about what was to come. Not only with this job, but with my life as a whole. Throughout the trip, I kept wondering, is this the turning point I've been searching for all this time? When we arrived at the mission area, I immediately felt the tremendous power of the flames. It's unlike any fire I've ever faced before. The flames, like a living monster, surged upward, dancing in the wind as if they were conscious, possessing a dark power and a desire to destroy everything they touched. Every time I look at those flames, I don't just see them burning down trees and houses. I also feel as if they're watching me, as if they know I'm coming and they won't give in easily. The temperature around me is rising abnormally. The scorching heat waves make it hard for me to breathe, and my skin feels like it's being scorched. I have faced many fires, but I have never felt such terrifying heat. It's like the fire of hell that my father, an old preacher, once described in his sermons. His words echo in my mind. This fire doesn't just burn the body, it scorches the soul. I look into the flames, unable to help wondering if something supernatural is influencing them, a force we cannot control. The wind blows fiercely, as if it has a mind of its own, spreading the fire more quickly and countering our measures to extinguish it. Water streams are blown aside, we don't have enough water, and that makes it nearly impossible to do anything to stop the inferno. There was a moment I thought about giving up, but I just couldn't. Something inside me wouldn't allow me to back down. The scene here now makes me feel a deep pain piercing my heart. It's not just an ordinary fire. It's a battle we can't win. That suspicion made me wonder if something else is happening. Is this fire just a natural disaster? Or is it something more? Something I can't explain? The moments of fighting the flames seemed endless. Everyone on the team was exhausted, drenched in sweat, their faces haggard. The scorching wind felt like it was tearing our skin, and even though we gave it our all, the fire continued advancing with no sign of stopping. The sense of tension came not only from the task of extinguishing the fire but also from our inability to control what was happening. I looked at my teammates, especially the younger ones, and saw exhaustion and fear clearly etched on their faces. One of them, a young guy who had just joined the team, was very enthusiastic but couldn't hide the worry in his eyes. I heard him breathing heavily, and after a moment, he started voicing his fear. "Grizzly, I can't do this anymore. This is too much. The fire is too big, and I don't know what to do." He spoke with a voice tight with tension, his hands shaking as he tried to use the water spray. I looked at him, feeling sympathy in my heart. Yes, I was worried too, but I couldn't show it. I couldn't let the team lose spirit. I understand that feeling, but if we stop right now, everything will fall apart. You're not alone. We've been together for so many years, and today is no different. Remember, when we are together, we will overcome. Although I tried to reassure him, I didn't feel any better inside. The pressure weighed heavily on me, both physically and mentally. It felt like we were fighting something that wasn't just fire, like a powerful, invisible opponent no one could defeat without a strength far beyond human capability. And then we witnessed the first losses. Neighborhoods had been engulfed by the flames. Houses were reduced to ash, vehicles turned into piles of scrap metal, and anguished cries of people echoed like screams from a deep abyss. A heavy feeling pressed down on my chest. This was no longer just a forest fire. It felt like a punishment, as if some force had descended upon us. It didn't only result from nature's destruction. It also felt like a warning, a reminder of what humanity had overlooked and of the values we'd forgotten. Then, planes were deployed to begin their missions from above, but the fire continued raging fiercely, as if it wanted to consume everything. The thick cloud of smoke was so dense that we could barely see ahead, with only the bright red glow of flickering flames piercing through the haze. I led a small group, trying to push deeper inside, but it was not easy at all. The tall trees around us kept exploding, as if they were striking back. Every step I took made me feel the temperature rising, as if some invisible hand was pushing us toward death. As we drew close to our designated location, I saw a cat amidst the rubble. Its house had burned down, but the cat continued crying for help, its frightened eyes focused on me. I rushed in, struggling to pull the cat out of the debris, hoping to save at least that tiny creature in this cruel fire. I had just pulled the cat outside when suddenly a large tree fell, blocking the path. I had no time to dodge or even think. My whole body was pinned to the ground by that tree, unable to move. The feeling at that moment was impossible to put into words, as if I was caught in a snare from which there was no escape. The flames never stopped, continuing to surround me. I could feel the burning heat all over my body, as if the fire were consuming me piece by piece. The thick smoke made breathing nearly impossible, my throat feeling like it was closing up, cutting off my air. At that moment, I felt like I couldn't go on any longer. All I could hear was my name, called by my teammates nearby. They were still trying to save me, but the closer they got, the more I felt I was sinking into an endless abyss. At that moment, I felt almost depleted. I just wanted to give up, but a part of me clung to a faint glimmer of hope. That's when I felt something strange. Amid the pain and despair, I was seeing not just the flames, but something else. A dim light, like another door was opening. When I opened my eyes, I felt as if I were being submerged in endless darkness. The space around me had no light, only a cold silence making me feel separated from the real world. That feeling was unlike the exhaustion after a grueling rescue mission. This was a different kind of cold, bleak emptiness that I couldn't explain. I tried to stand, but my body felt devoid of strength. I couldn't move. I could only remain standing there in the darkness. Then a cold whisper echoed, as if tearing apart the silence around me. "You think you are saving a life. I am claiming back what belongs to me." That voice seemed to come from every direction, cold and haunting, making me feel as though an invisible shadow was tightening its grip on me. My heart pounded in my chest. I felt anxious, afraid, as if I were facing something I couldn't confront, something beyond my understanding. Then images began to appear before my eyes. Horrific and haunting images of souls, of ghosts, burning in the flames, crying out in despair for a salvation they could not find. I saw those faces, those eyes filled with fear, pain, and desperation. The flickering flames consumed them, never ceasing. Everything took place in a realm without time or exit. I knew this feeling wasn't a dream. It was the truth of a place, a different world from which I couldn't escape. I could clearly sense that this wasn't mere darkness before my eyes, but something deeper, a place where the soul had to confront the deeds it had committed in life. I looked around but saw nothing except those images, tormented souls and the screams echoing in this silent space. They weren't the cries of ordinary humans. They were the agonies of souls scorched by fire, stripped of any chance to continue living, trapped in the flames forever, never to be freed. A deep sorrow rose within me, and I knew unmistakably that I was no outsider to these scenes. I couldn't escape. I couldn't save them. I felt like I was being pulled deeper, as if I, too, were part of those wailing souls. Then I seemed to plunge into a larger space, feeling as though I was being swept into a terrifying battle. A dark hall stretched around me, where light and shadow appeared locked in a strange, intertwined struggle. That light was there, but it wasn't a light I recognized. It carried a strange clarity, but it wasn't warm, nor was it comforting. In that space, I saw a giant figure, a towering shadow in the middle, and realized it was a demon. It looked at me with cold, piercing eyes, as if it could see through me, reading every deed I'd done in my life. Then it spoke, "Humanity, you have committed a great sin. You have lived in wickedness and greed, and this is the consequence of all your wrongdoing. The fire is your deserved punishment, the penalty you must endure. You have eliminated yourselves." That voice echoed like waves crashing, making me feel as though I were a part of that guilt. The misdeeds of humanity, the bad choices in each person's life, now played like a fast-forwarded movie before my eyes, and there was no escaping it. The flames, the agony, and the charred souls served as an undeniable reminder. But in the midst of those accusations, something unexpected emerged. A light in the distance, gradually spreading and illuminating the darkness. It was an angel, one representing Los Angeles, standing resolute in that light, confronting the dark shadows created by the devil. In the angel's light, I felt a tranquility, a peace I had never known. "Lord, have mercy," the angel said in a tone both gentle and resolute. "Even if humanity makes mistakes, even if they become lost, please remember those who remain faithful. They still have genuine souls, still harbor love in their hearts. Please grant them a chance." The angel's plea, a single ray of hope in the darkness, carried a message of forgiveness which, despite its fragility, shone brightly. Angels pray not just for themselves but for all of humanity, reminding us of the power of transformation and of the forgiveness that God can give. A hint of hope, so fragile, bore a miraculous strength, causing me to feel my faith reawakening. I stood there, silently gazing at that light, absorbing a faint sense of comfort. The demon, wearing a challenging gaze, then turned its attention to the angel, a sinister smile crossing its lips without even a flicker of kindness or mercy. The devil's voice rang out, cold and arrogant. "Your efforts will be in vain," it said, each word slicing like a blade. "The flame will never die out. It will keep burning, devouring everything you create, forcing you to watch your own destruction." The demon approached, looming like a shadow that overshadowed the whole space. It blew a powerful gust of wind, and in an instant, I felt an onslaught of heat that made me feel as though I was catching fire. That was no ordinary breeze but fire, fire drawn from the darkness itself. "You have brought this destiny upon yourselves," the demon went on, its voice cutting like a curse. "There is no salvation for humanity. You have sown the seeds of sin, and now you reap what you have sown. We will continue to release winds carrying the flames of annihilation upon humanity. None can escape this fire. None can flee." Suddenly, I witnessed more than just California ablaze once again. I saw strong winds blowing from the northeast toward the west at incredible speed, carrying the dry air from highlands and igniting forests in the mountainous and coastal areas of California, which then rapidly spread further. My heart ached, seeing humanity again drowned in misery. As for the demon, it laughed mockingly, like it was all some twisted game, and I felt suffocated. This wasn't merely a showdown between light and darkness. It was a struggle between hope and despair. The devil looked at the angel with defiant contempt, as though I were just a helpless soul. I stood there, speechless, letting the silence encompass me. Every plea for help, every whispered prayer, seemed swallowed by the darkness. Yet something within me refused to surrender. My heart, though weighed down by fear, kept pleading and hoping. A part of me reached out for forgiveness, yearned for redemption, even though I knew I was unworthy. I remained in that space, small and weak, voiceless, accepting the truth of the demon's accusation. But my heart couldn't stop its outcry, couldn't stop pleading. Though the fire still raged and the darkness surrounded me, I refused to abandon hope that, somewhere within it, there might be a chance, however slim, for forgiveness. While I was immersed in pain and loss, suddenly a bright light shone through, and I felt a warm wave enveloping me. The space changed, taking me somewhere entirely different from what I had just witnessed. Lush green trees, clear streams, and soft birdsong, a natural melody, welcomed me with an indescribable sense of peace. Yet in that serenity, I knew I was being guided to something significant. Then I saw him unexpectedly. Jesus stood there, majestic yet radiating a boundless compassion. Light emanated from him, but it wasn't blinding. Instead, I felt an overwhelming sense of calm, as if all my worries were melting away. In that moment, he looked at me with eyes brimming with love, a gaze that made me feel both small and simultaneously wrapped in unconditional affection. He began to speak, his voice warm yet powerful. "You have been on a difficult journey, but now is the time for you to gain a deeper understanding of what you're doing." I felt like I was standing before a profound truth that I'd never fully grasped. Jesus went on, revealing to me the cause of the fire and things I could never have imagined. When people lose their faith and no longer pray, even forgetting my existence, evil forces rise and grow stronger. They will act in my name to bring punishment, but that's not what I desire. Everything that happens comes from human choice, It all became suddenly clear, but was also flooded with sorrow. Natural disasters and calamities aren't part of God's desire, but result from humanity's rejection of God, from their turning away from faith and prayer. The material destruction I was witnessing was just a shadow of spiritual devastation. I have placed you here not only to save those people's lives, Jesus continued, but to save your own soul as well. The forces of darkness have taken advantage of humanity's arrogance and apathy to lure them into darkness. Yet hope never dies. His words felt like a healing balm, relieving the pain in me. It was as though I was reborn at that moment. The worries about my life, about what had happened, fell away as though they were inconsequential. Jesus not only talked about forgiveness but showed that salvation started within myself. The fires, the storms, are tests that people must face. But in that darkness, He is always the guiding light. I realized I wasn't alone and that every person, regardless of where they are, can choose light and hope. The story of this fire is not an ending, but a new beginning. A new start where we can all find forgiveness and life, in spite of everything that has transpired. Jesus looked at me again, his gaze serious yet full of love. Silence seemed to dominate the space, only his voice echoing with a gentle but powerful reminder. "My child," he said, "I want you to take this message back to humanity. If humanity doesn't return to faith and to prayer, the disasters will become more severe. They won't be only natural crises, but warnings you fail to hear." He paused for a moment, then pressed on with undeniable conviction. Prayer, he emphasized, is the only way to extinguish the flames of hell. When you pray, you not only find peace in your soul, but also protection from the dark forces lurking to disturb you. That is the only way to face these challenges. I stood quietly in that strange hush, his words reverberating in my mind like a powerful reminder that we cannot live without faith, nor can we exist without a bond with our Creator. Every disaster, every pain, whether natural or sinful, can be relieved or halted if humans know how to pray, to live humbly, and to be grateful for what God has given. "It is your pride and the abandonment of faith that have brought you to this point," he said. "But never forget, it is never too late to turn back. Prayer is the key to unlocking the door to salvation. Every prayer, no matter how small, can extinguish the fire devouring this world." Within me, I felt a newfound steadiness, as if part of me had been reclaimed and the rest was slowly healing. Though his words carried serious warnings, they were also imbued with hope. He wanted us to see how dire our current state was, but also opened a path for us to change, to do what's right, and to return to God's truth. He spoke once more, "Bring this message back. And remember, prayer is the only way to extinguish the flames of hell. Help them understand it is through prayer that they will find salvation." I felt like I'd received a priceless treasure, a mission I couldn't turn down. The words the Lord Jesus had given me would be not just a caution for humanity, but also a reminder for myself that, in every hardship, prayer is the greatest power to overcome. Then I woke up, overwhelmed by sharp pain and deep exhaustion. My whole body felt like it had been burned, and every movement caused me agony. Yet I still perceived something extraordinary. I was alive, and I knew I couldn't return to my old way of life. My teammates' anxious faces surrounded me. They stood by me, breathing relieved sighs at the sight of me awake. Everything around me was hazy, but I sensed their warmth. One of them, my closest friend, looked at me, his eyes mirroring both happiness and concern. "Grizzly, how are you doing?" he asked, his voice trembling. I offered a weak smile, forcing myself to sit up, despite the throbbing pain, but a strong force was welling inside me. I knew I'd been given a second chance, not just to live but to do something bigger than myself. "I survived for a reason," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "There's something greater than me waiting out there." They took me away to recover from my injuries. I had many hours to think. It wasn't until I saw the fatigue and desperation in my teammates that I decided. I told them about what I'd experienced in that dark place, about my encounter with the devil and the warnings about humanity's sins. I will never forget that vision. The oppressive darkness, the souls screaming in the flames, and the devil's chilling words. But even more importantly, I met Jesus and he gave me a new mission. Jesus taught me that this fire isn't just a natural disaster. I said, each word feeling ablaze in my heart. It's a sign of a greater power. Humanity has turned its back on faith, and this fire is the result of turning away from God. I continued conveying his message. He said that humanity's spiritual sins have caused this world to fall into chaos. If people don't return to faith and prayer, the flames won't cease. And worse, there will be more winds that spread even larger flames. The people around me listened intently, their eyes showing both fear and hope. A close friend on the team, who I've always known as steadfast, gave me a look filled with resolve. "Grizzly, you must share this story," he said firmly. "If you don't speak out, we won't be able to stop this fire. You're the only one who can do it." I returned his gaze and saw the trust in his eyes, a trust one couldn't ignore. This was my mission. I wasn't merely a firefighter anymore. I was a bearer of a message. "All right," I answered, my body still weak but my heart aflame. "I'll share the story, not just to save their lives, but to save their souls. We can put out this fire if we return to faith and pray." With that determination, I knew my life had changed forever. These flames were more than just a challenge. They were a reminder of what I had to do, not just for myself but for everyone. Finally, as I sat in reflection on all I'd been through, I sensed a profound transformation in my inner being. I decided to share this story because that brush with death taught me not only about the danger of physical flames but also about the sacred fire that each of us carries within. It's true that fires can burn down houses and forests, but there are also fires in our hearts which, if left unattended, will leave our souls numb and condemn us to even greater suffering and darkness. My mission isn't simply to rescue people from physical flames. It's also to awaken and nurture the sacred fire within them, the fire of faith and hope. Faith is a light that can shine even in the darkest night, helping us overcome every difficulty and challenge. I've witnessed the despair in the eyes of those afflicted by this catastrophe, and I know they need more than just physical salvation. They need redemption of the soul. I want to convey a message from the depths of my heart to everyone listening to this account. Never abandon faith and prayer, especially in challenging times when darkness seems all-consuming. Whenever you encounter obstacles, remember you are not alone. Seek God's light, pray sincerely from your heart, and keep your faith unwavering. As Jesus reminded me, prayer is the only way to extinguish the flames of hell. That is the key to conquering every adversity and the only way to find peace and hope, even when everything around you seems ablaze. Let that sacred flame within you burn strongly, guiding both you and those around you. Don't be afraid when enveloped by darkness, for the true light will spring from your own heart, from your sacred connection with God. Let faith and prayer be the unyielding force in your life. That, indeed, is my mission, and I hope my story serves as a reminder that every challenge can be overcome if we never forget the light of faith.